Assuming you mean Marvel Studios' Avengers: Doomsday, the first official trailer is about 2 minutes 25 seconds long, and Marvel has also released a newer special look. The movie is scheduled for December 18, 2026. Analysis of the Avengers: Doomsday trailer. Avengers: Doomsday may be one of the most important movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Multiverse saga. From the trailer, Marvel is clearly trying to communicate one message. This is no longer simply another Avengers adventure. It is a collision between different generations, teams, and universes. The biggest surprise is, of course, Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU, but not as Tony Stark. He plays Victor Von Doom, better known as Doctor Doom, the central villain of the movie. That casting choice immediately creates one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the film. 1. Doctor Doom changes everything. The trailer carefully presents Doctor Doom as a completely different kind of threat from the villains the Avengers have previously faced. Thanos was presented as an almost unstoppable cosmic force. Doctor Doom, however, appears to combine intelligence, political power, technology, and supernatural ability. This makes Doom potentially more dangerous because he may not need to simply overpower the heroes. He could manipulate them, divide them, and exploit the differences between universes. The second trailer adds another important clue. Sue Storm describes Doom as someone who was not merely evil from the beginning, but someone who became broken. That suggests Marvel may be giving Doom a tragic motivation, rather than making him a simple villain. This could make the character much more interesting. And Robert Downey Jr. is a particularly interesting choice because audiences spent more than a decade associating his face with Tony Stark. Marvel is deliberately using that emotional connection to create uncertainty. The question becomes, can audiences look at Robert Downey Jr. and truly see Doctor Doom instead of Iron Man? That may be one of the movie's greatest challenges, and one of its greatest strengths. 2. The multiverse has finally become the main event. For several years, Marvel has introduced the idea of alternate universes. We have seen different versions of characters, alternate realities, and characters crossing between universes. But Doomsday appears to take that concept to its biggest possible level. The trailer suggests that different Marvel worlds are now colliding. This is important because the movie brings together characters from the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and other corners of Marvel's cinematic history. Disney's official cast list includes Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Paul Rudd, Anthony Mackie, Tom Hiddleston, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, James Marsden, and many others. That enormous cast is not just fan service. It appears to be part of the story's central idea. What happens when multiple Marvel universes can no longer exist separately? That is where the title Doomsday becomes especially meaningful. 3. Captain America's return is one of the trailer's biggest mysteries. Another major moment is the return of Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans. After Avengers: Endgame, Steve appeared to have completed his story. He had passed his shield to Sam Wilson and chosen a quieter life. So why is Steve back? The trailer deliberately doesn't provide a complete answer. That mystery is extremely important because Marvel's multiverse makes almost anything possible. Steve could be returning from another point in his timeline, another universe, or another version of his character. The trailer therefore uses his return not only as nostalgia, but also as a question. Which Steve Rogers are we actually watching? That question could become one of the movie's biggest plot mysteries. 4. X-Men finally enter the main conflict. Perhaps the most exciting element for longtime Marvel fans is the appearance of classic X-Men characters. The cast includes Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Ian McKellen as Magneto, James Marsden as Cyclops, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Rebecca Romijn as Mystique, and Kelsey Grammer as Beast. This is significant because these actors represent an earlier generation of Marvel superhero films. Now they are being placed alongside the modern MCU. That means Doomsday isn't simply connecting fictional universes. It is connecting different eras of superhero cinema. The trailer therefore works on 2 levels. Younger viewers may see these characters as powerful superheroes, while longtime Marvel fans may experience something much more emotional, characters from older movies finally meeting the modern MCU. 5. The Sentinels make the threat even bigger. The newer footage introduces another major element: Sentinels, the giant machines traditionally associated with the X-Men. More importantly, the footage suggests that Doctor Doom commands them. This changes the scale of the conflict. If Doom can control armies of Sentinels while simultaneously confronting powerful Avengers and Fantastic Four characters, then the heroes aren't simply fighting one villain. They are potentially fighting an entire system controlled by him. That creates the possibility of enormous battles while still allowing Doom himself to remain the central threat. 6. The Fantastic Four could be crucial. Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards and Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm appear to have an especially important relationship with Doctor Doom. That makes sense because, in Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom is closely connected to the Fantastic Four. The newer footage even shows Reed confronting Doom directly. This could give the movie an emotional center. Instead of Doom simply being the villain who wants to destroy everything, his conflict with Reed may be personal, intellectual, and ideological. That would make the Fantastic Four more than another superhero team thrown into a giant crossover. They could be essential to understanding Doom himself. 7. The biggest strength and biggest risk. The trailer's biggest strength is its scale. Marvel is bringing together characters that audiences have been waiting years to see in the same story. But that is also the movie's biggest risk. There are so many characters that Doomsday could become overcrowded. Every hero needs enough screen time to feel important, but giving everyone a major storyline could make the central plot difficult to follow. The Russo brothers are returning to direct, with Stephen McFeely writing, which gives Marvel a team with previous experience handling enormous ensemble movies. The real test will be whether they can make the movie feel like one story, rather than 10 stories happening at the same time. 8. Why the trailer creates so much curiosity. The trailer is effective because it doesn't explain everything. It shows enough to make viewers understand the scale of the conflict, but it leaves major questions unanswered. Why is Doctor Doom doing this? Why does he look like Robert Downey Jr.? What exactly is happening to the multiverse? Why is Steve Rogers returning? How will the Avengers react to the X-Men? What role will Reed Richards play? And perhaps the biggest question: can anyone actually stop Doctor Doom? Marvel has already demonstrated that the trailer itself is an enormous event. The first trailer reportedly reached more than 500 million views in its first 24 hours, demonstrating just how much interest surrounds the film. Final analysis. Overall, the Avengers Doomsday trailer appears designed less as a traditional introduction and more as a statement about the future of Marvel. The movie is bringing together old and new Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, returning legacy characters, and a completely new interpretation of Doctor Doom. Robert Downey Jr.'s casting is the emotional hook. Chris Evans' return is the nostalgia hook. The X-Men are the crossover hook. And Doctor Doom is the central mystery. If Marvel succeeds, Avengers Doomsday could become the cinematic event that defines the final stage of the multiverse saga. But the trailer leaves us with one fascinating possibility. What if Doctor Doom doesn't need to destroy the Avengers? What if he needs them alive for something much bigger? And if that is the real plan, then Doomsday may be only the beginning of something even more dangerous in Avengers: Secret Wars.